All right, so welcome back. So we're still in 6.2, but now we're looking at the order of operations. So when simplifying a problem with more than one operation, we follow the order of operations. So the order of operations, if parentheses or square brackets, I'm going to add in there even curly braces, those are all considered the same type of thing. They're all considered grouping symbols. So parentheses, square brackets, and curly braces are all grouping symbols. First thing we want to do is work separately above and below any fraction bar. So if there's a big old fraction bar in the problem, we got to work above and below first and simplify that down. And then 2, use the rules within each set of parentheses or square brackets or curly braces. Start with the innermost set and work outward. Okay, so we're going to see some problems where there's layers to these problems and you got to work inside out. That's always a good rule of thumb. Now, if no parentheses or brackets are present, apply any exponents. So if you're rusty with exponents, we're going to do a crash course in that, so don't freak out. Number 2, do any multiplications or divisions in order from left to right. So remember, we said before in the previous problem, if you do it one way, you're going to get one answer, but if you do it another way, you'll get another answer. So you really got to be careful which order you're doing them. And then step 3, do additions and subtractions in order from left to right. So PEMDAS is a way to help you remember it, but be careful. It's not strictly in that order. So go from left to right in specific cases. So let's try some problems. So the first one we see -6 plus, we got a square bracket, 5 minus parenthesis, -2 plus 4, close parenthesis, close bracket. All right, so where do we start? Anytime there's clusters of grouping symbols, start with your innermost set. So in this case, we want to start with the -2 plus 4 and break that down. Now, remember your rules. If the signs are different, you're really subtracting them, and then you're going to keep the sign of the larger number. So all this other stuff, I'm just going to write down. And so now, -2 plus 4. Well, 4 minus 2 is 2, and it should be a positive 2. Now remember, once you get your result, if it's positive, you can generally lose the parentheses. If it's negative, you generally want to keep the parentheses, just to help separate those operations and negatives and stuff like that. But in this case, it's positive, so we can just lose them. We'll close our bracket. So now the next piece should be our brackets. So -6 plus 5 minus 2, we can do that. That's equal to 3. And then the last step, we know we got to subtract those because they're different signs. So we should get a -3 for an answer. So as long as you're very careful and just breaking it down step by step, you can do these. So if you try to do a lot of steps all at once, chances are you're going to make some mistakes. You can do it, but you got to be really careful. So this next one is a good example of this. All right, so we got some multiplication in here. We got some subtraction. Here's an exponent. So when you have that raised number like that, that's an exponent. So we got to treat that a certain way. And we're going to see some examples. And then we got some more pluses and stuff. So really, if we wanted to break this down, so PEMDAS, parentheses, well, we got brackets and we got parentheses, so innermost goes first. So we definitely want to do this. Now, exponents come before addition, so we do want to take care of this 4 with this exponent of 2 as well. I like to put little boxes around it because as long as those boxes don't interfere, you're good. All right. Now, what about outside the brackets? Can we do any of this stuff? Well, the answer is yeah, because we're multiplying here, but then we got subtraction there. So we should be good to do this multiplication. So there's 3 things we can do to get the ball rolling. So now, -8 times -2 should be positive. It's positive 16. We got that minus sign. Still got the bracket. So now, 4 with an exponent of 2, how do we interpret that? Now, some of you might say, oh, don't you just multiply them, 4 times 2? It's not quite the way it means. Let me give you a different example. If I got 2 with an exponent of 3, that's not equal to 6. What it's equal to is 2 times 2 times 2. So the 2 is being repeated that many times, whatever the exponent tells you, and you're multiplying all those pieces. So if you multiply this all together, you're going to get 8, not 6. So you really got to be careful on those if you're rusty. So in this case, this wants you to multiply 4 times 4, which is 16. And then in these parentheses, we can do that quick because it adds up to 10. So far, so good, right? Okay, so now we got our brackets. So now we got to combine those. We can add that together quickly. And because the answer is positive, we can lose the brackets. So we got 16 minus 26. All right. Well, we can either change it to addition by adding the opposite, or we can just kind of visually see it on a number line. If I'm at 0 and I go to the right to 16, but then from there I got to go back 26, I'm going to be in the hole. I'm going to be negative. So you can think of it that way, or you could rewrite it. Whoops. You could rewrite it with addition. So in which case you would get 16 plus negative 26. Either way you slice it, you're going to get a negative 10. So negative 26 is the bigger one, so it's got to be a negative answer. Okay, let's try a couple more, and then we'll finish the rest of this in one quick video. So, all right, we got a couple more here. So now, what do we want to do first? We got an exponent, so that's more important than parentheses. We got some parentheses in here, but it's deceiving. Is there anything to do inside of a set of parentheses? No, all these are doing is just separating off negative numbers. And really, the only operation in here is multiplication. So it's really deceiving. You're tempted to want to multiply that together first, but you can't. If it was written like this, with just the one set and everything going on inside, then yes, you would do that. But it's not the way it's written, so you got to be really careful. So really the only thing we can do is this exponent. So we had 36 divided by negative 4 times negative 3. So here's that weird rule again. Because you got division and multiplication, you have to go from left to right. So we got to do the division first. So that's going to be a negative 9 times negative 3, which is negative 27. All right. You're going to make mistakes with this stuff. It's not a huge issue. I like to see the follow through. So if you're taking a test or something like that and you're showing your work, I'm not going to take off full credit if you make a small error like that. If your follow through is correct and you make one small mistake in it, I'm going to penalize you for the small mistake. That's it. So really try to get into the habit of showing your work, and that'll be helpful. I know it's hard with some of the electronic stuff, but we're going to work through it together. Okay, let's do a couple more. We're at 8 minutes 50 seconds. So we got some parentheses here. So we really got to take care of those first. The exponent's outside of that, so we don't touch the exponents yet. We have to do what's inside the parentheses first on both of these. So 7 minus 5 is 2, and it's positive 2, so we can lose the parentheses. Still got the exponent of 3, minus 1 minus 4. Well, use that number line. Okay, I'm at 0. I'm going to go 1 to the right, and I'm going to go back 4. So that puts me in the negatives. It should be a negative 3. And then we got to keep the exponent. So we want to keep the parentheses, and we want to keep, don't forget the exponent. So this is where we're at. So what do we want to do next? Yeah, we got to do those exponents next. So let's be careful. You're tempted to do something with this double negative, aren't you, though? You can't, because technically that's subtraction. The subtraction comes after the exponent, so we got to do the exponents first. So we got 2 to the third power. We got negative 3 to the second power. So we already did 2 to the third up here, so we know that that's equal to 8. And negative 3 to the second. So remember, that's just the same as negative 3 times negative 3. Well, that's going to be equal to 9. Positive 9. Negative times negative is positive. And so now your last step. 8 to the good, back 9, puts me in the hole. Puts you in the hole by 1. So negative 1 should be your answer. Okay, I'm actually going to stop the video here. We'll pick up these last two in the last video. So we'll wrap up the rest of this section, which is pretty short, and that will be that. All right, see you in a minute.